Unless you're tweeting for fun, there's no point. Want to know why? Because you're not making any money. Everyone obsesses over going viral and chasing likes, but those are just vanity metrics at the end of the day. Most people think DMs are spam or crappy, but I'm about to show you the exact 4-step system I used to make over $2 million in the last 3 years using nothing but Twitter DMs. I did this with no ads, no massive following, and no crazy AI DM campaigns. And in this video, I'm going to show you 3 DM conversations from 3 different periods of my business journey. One is an inbound lead, one is a cold outbound DM where I leveraged case studies, and one is literally my first ever client when I had 0 experience or social proof. And the one thing that all of these leads have in common is they've paid us tens of thousands of dollars, and they all originated in the Twitter DMs. But before we look at DM conversations that led to money, you first need to audit your account. And if you don't pass this test, there's a very small chance that you're going to make any money whatsoever. This is called the 3-second credibility test. So it goes like this. I actually logged in to one of my clients' accounts to show you what my account looks like from their perspective. So the 3-second credibility test is when you look at a new account, you're going to first see their actual bio. Does it say who you are, what you do, and why they should follow? So on my account, it says CEO at the Birdhouse, building viral, profitable brands on X and LinkedIn. Okay, I have a value proposition. You know I'm the CEO of the Birdhouse, and my header clearly supports that. And I even have a candid profile picture of me talking on stage, so it just adds a little bit of authority. I've got my link there, again, matches my branding, thebirdhouse.co, and most importantly, you can see who actually follows you. So when someone clicks my account, and if they're in my industry, chances are I'm gonna have a ton of mutual followers. So from this client's account, they have 90 mutual followers with me. So that instantly adds credibility as someone that they might want to purchase from. And additionally, you can see my pinned tweet has the 2024 statistics at the Birdhouse, millions of followers generated, thousands of book calls, millions of dollars generated. It just adds more authority and authenticity to my profile. And to tie it all together, in the highlights section, you can actually just fill this with all of your social proof tweets and just continue to add a bank of case studies, social proof, tips and tricks. And for me personally, I just spam as much social proof and results as possible in this highlights section. You can even see I have client case study videos here. And my profile is super cohesive, and this is exactly that 3-second credibility test that I'm talking about. And listen, I have 25,000 followers on X, and I get DMs every single day trying to sell me something, and this is why I ignore 99.9% of them. The 0.1% that I do respond to passes this 3-second credibility test. So there's 2 types of DMs. There's outbound and there's inbound, and we're gonna go over examples of both of them. Outbound is when you actually go out and DM somebody that you want to sell something. Inbound is when they DM you interested in what you have to sell. And let's just jump into my request folder and look at some of these horrible outbound DMs. All right, we're gonna blur out some of these names, but this is literally the most recent outbound DM I got. Hey name, I made this free YouTube script for you. He didn't even change the name in the automation script. It literally just says name in parentheses. And at the end it just says LMK, like let me know, like, okay. Here's a great one. This happens to me at least 50% of the time. Hey Marco, it's Marco's not even my name. So like you have to actually spell people's names right. And then it just goes into this huge long paragraph into something I've never heard of, like from team what, like, I don't know. Here's another one. Hey Marcos, not gonna waste your time. And then he proceeds to give a full paragraph with no punctuation on all sorts of stuff. I'll turn your vids into fire AF edits that actually go viral. I've worked with school. Yes, the one Hormozy backed. Like if you did any research on me, you know that I know what school is. I talk about it all the time. And helped grow a client channel from 0 to 90K followers. If you have a 30S clip, send it over. I'll show you what I can do. Not a good outbound DM. And I'll just go one more to drive this point home. This guy just says, yo, what's up, bro? Just saw your post. I'm definitely interested in the DM setter spot. And I hire people all the time through my profile. This is the last way you need to DM me. And then his follow-up is, hello, bro. All right, I think that drives home the point. And now that you know what bad DMs look like, I'm going to show you conversations from my personal DMs that have actually turned into sales. And then after that, I'm going to go into the psychology of why each conversation worked. And keep in mind, these are just 3 conversations from the tens of thousands of DM conversations we've had in my DMs and our clients' DMs that has generated over $10 million in cash directly from Twitter. And I'm going to give you a glimpse into that right now. So here's an example of an inbound DM conversation that came from a client of mine. I put out a call to action saying to DM me tweet if they were interested in our service. And then I said, hey man, let me know a bit about your situation and we could take it from there. He gave me a little bit of context about his business. I'm going to blur it out. I said, I see. I have a few ideas. Let's hop on a call this week. What time is good for you this week? Cool, if I send you my calendar, we could have time for a chat. And this is just a way of actually getting people to schedule on the calendar instead of doing something impromptu. He said, sounds good. I sent him my calendar. Super, super easy. And I even followed up here because he wasn't showing up to the call and he ended up showing up to the call after. So a little bit of follow-up game for you. And of course, inbound DMs are going to be way easier, which is why I'm going to start showing you colder and colder leads as we break down each conversation. So second, here's another example of me actually sending an outbound DM to a prospect that I really wanted to work with. And feel free to steal this exact script. Yo, just saw one of your giveaways. I think we could scale your brand like crazy on here. We've been looking for a guy in your industry. For context, I'm the brain behind some big ex-info guys like insert all my client's name. If you're interested, I'd love to see if there's a fit. He said, hey, thanks for reaching out. Definitely interested in hearing more. And I said, fire, I'll get you a quick Loom recorded and then I'll go from there. And all I did was record a video, just breaking down his profile and how I think we could help him. He said, hey, just watched your Loom. Appreciate you taking the time to make that for me. But yes, makes total sense and I'm currently in scale mode. Would love to hop on a call. And as you can see, we just went a little back and forth. He gave me a bunch of context on his business. I said, fire, can definitely find synergy. Glad to hear you're crushing it. Here's my calendar. Same as before. And he went in and booked a call and it went from there. And this was all because I went out of my way to research somebody that I wanted to work with. And I was able to tag social proof that actually elevated my outbound DM and let me stand out. So this is a little bit harder to do than just a warm inbound lead, but it's a lot easier to do than just a strict cold DM, which is about to be the conversation that we break down now. And I know most of you watching this don't have any social proof at all, and I've been there. And as you can see by the date on the screen, this is literally from almost 4 years ago. And this is a script that will still work today. And again, feel free to copy it. Hey man, I love the data barrier you're breaking down with blank. You're really closing the gap for the little guy. I'm reaching out because I wanted to see if you'd be interested in me getting you 10,000 followers in 10 weeks, or I'll keep writing for you for free until you get their little guarantee. This will help you become an online authority in your space. And if not, it's all good. No need to respond. But if you're curious, let me know and I'll send it over. And he said, sure, would love to hear more. And being the young, inexperienced DMer that I am, I just tried sending him the calendar right away. And he objected immediately. He said, hey, before we hop on a call, I'd like to understand how it works, how much it costs, prior examples. And I know a lot of you have run into these objections before. I'm going to show you how to handle them. I said, highly respect that. Let me break it down. And I gave him an entire synopsis of how it works. Again, feel free to read through this on your own. You can pause the video. I gave him a full rundown of how it works, how much it costs, etc., etc. And he said, sorry, I went cold on you. This sounds good. Bit outside my range I'd like to spend and also feels weird to pay to hit 10K since those, I know it's easy to juice those numbers. So he was just objecting like crazy. And I said, sure, can you describe your audience? And I actually wrote him some example tweets because you got to be scrappy. He gave me a little bit of context on his business and I went ahead and wrote him some example tweets that honestly, they are horrible. But back then I thought this was good and I was just getting started and you got to be scrappy. Again, he said he was interested. I said, what do you think? He said, they're pretty cool. And I decided to get him closed at 1K a month. Back then I was trying to charge 5K a month as a beginner, but 1K a month got the job done in 2022. And I was able to close him. Like he committed to the price right in the DMs. Then I resent the calendar, was able to get him on a call and actually close that deal. Yeah, that was a grind, honestly. And I wanted to show this one specifically because I know this is where a lot of people are. And you really do have to be scrappy to close that first client. But it's all about getting them to respond to that first message. And that is the most important part. And before we break down why these conversations actually worked, you need to know how many DMs I used to actually send to get replies like this. Back in the day, I had to use some lead scraping software to find any CEOs that would be willing to buy my services. But nowadays with ChatGPT, it's very easy to get running lists like this. So I'm just going to tell you how many I actually sent. I used to send 100 DMs every single day and aim for a 10% reply rate. And on those 10% of replies, so 10 conversations, I tried to book one call. So if I sent 100 DMs a day to highly targeted prospects, 10% of them replied and booked one call, that would book me a call every day. And if I closed 20% of those, I was closing a new client each week. And it's not always that cookie cutter perfect, but those are the benchmark KPIs that you want to aim for. And the variables that make it easier and actually lift up those benchmarks is like the 3-second credibility test that we mentioned before and having social proof that you can actually include in your DMs. So let's break down this opener. In the opener, the first thing I did is lead with a compliment. Super, super basic. I love the data barrier you're breaking down with your company. You're really closing the gap for the little guy. And then I immediately just wanted to go into the offer. When you're selling to rich people, you want to get straight to the point. Otherwise, they're just going to ignore your DM. And I made sure I added a little bit of a line gap here for readability. And then I said, I'm reaching out because I wanted to see if you'd be interested in me getting you 10,000 followers in 10 weeks, or I'll keep writing for you for free. So this is like classic $100 million offer with a guarantee. And then at the end, I said, but if you're at all curious, let me know and I'll send it over. If not, you're all good. No need to respond. Just kind of leading in with, hey, not trying to be too pushy, but I'm just going to leave this in your inbox. And if you see it, maybe you'll reply. And what happens is psychologically, a lot of people are seeing that and saying, what do I have to lose? Give me your offer. And that's how you get a response like that. And once you do get a response like this, that's where it drastically increases the chances of you actually getting that sale. You got to be like a shark on these DMs, and you always want to have speed to lead. So I highly recommend, if you're new, to always be monitoring your inbox. So let's go to the second conversation. My opener was, yo, just saw one of your giveaways. So this was just like a timely thing. It doesn't seem super scripted because he literally had just posted a giveaway on the timeline. So I'm already getting around the objection that this is an automation. Next, I think we could scale, in all caps, your brand like crazy on here, kind of just keeping with the lingo. And I've been saying we've been looking for a guy in his niche. So that just kind of makes him feel a little bit special. It makes me seem like I'm out there hunting specific niches, and it makes him feel like, maybe I'm that guy. And then this is the killer. For context, I'm the brain behind some big X info guys and I tag all of my clients. So again, this is the kind of script you can use if you're already working with people in his niche, and it makes you just infinitely more credible. Because after the 3-second credibility test, then they see this in the DM. It's just the 1-2 combo that is unstoppable. And I said, if you're interested, I'd love to see if there's a fit, kind of like before where I don't want to be too pushy, but hey, what do they have to lose from answering? So this one is a banger. Highly recommend using this. It never really fails. And lastly, with the inbound lead, he said, tweet. And I said, hey man, let me know a bit about your situation and we can take it from there. And after he answered, I said, I see, I have a few ideas. Let's hop on a call. So a couple things to take away from this. One is that I'm texting like a human. Honestly, it's just like any like iMessage conversation where you're just sending multiple texts in a row instead of one big paragraph. It makes you stand out from any like automation or robot. And another thing is I maintained my frame and authority by saying, I have a few ideas. Let's hop on a call this week. I didn't say, hey, can you hop on a call? Do you have time? I just said, let's hop on a call. When you have an inbound lead, you are in the authority position. You do not need to ask questions. They would not have DM'd you first if they didn't need something. This is really important. And immediately he said, what time's good for you this week? And we were able to book that call. And when you get to the highest level, all of this stuff works together. The dozens of inbound DMs from your content, the outbound DM campaigns, the cold outbound, the social proof, the 3-second credibility test, all of this coming together in one cohesive system is how you really make millions on Twitter. And at the highest level, once you want to outsource this, you can hire a sales rep to do all of this for you and build your sales team around this very system. And that's something that we do at our agency right now. And if you're not a seasoned vet and you're still trying to chase your first sale, you need to be keeping up a consistent cadence doing these DM strategies. I recommend 100 DMs a day, keeping track of this in a CRM like a Google Sheet, and making sure you're following up 3 times with every single client, because that compounds over 30 days and actually gets you the results you're looking for. So don't be discouraged. The only way you actually can lose is if you quit. And if you want more DM scripts like the ones we covered in this video, I highly recommend subscribing to our free newsletter below. And if you want to go even deeper on that and see thousands more conversations, I'd recommend checking out our program. Check the link below. Thanks for watching the video. Cheers.